The Highland Hills tower the skies. But the shadows they cast draw the spirits near. After all, tomorrow is born.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We are joined tonight by Drew herself from Drew's Paranormal Vlog. Yes. Now, guys, we're doing something new tonight. We're actually streaming to Drew's channel too, with a new kind of thing that StreamYard has added. Oh, there's Stephanie. I remembered your name. I've got it drilled into me now. If I stare straight, a big horn will come out and hit me over the head.
Yes.
Now tonight, guys, we'll let the chat fill up a little bit, okay? Tonight we're going to be talking about 3 very interesting locations. Well, 1 location and 2 shipwrecks, right? We're going to be talking about Dunsky Castle at Port Patrick. And I used to go there as a little boy, my holidays, mum and dad would take me. But we're also going to talk about a couple of shipwrecks. We're going to be talking about, let me see, I've got their names here. We've got the, let's see, we've got the Princess Victoria, which sunk, which was quite a sad case, you know. And we're going to be talking about, here we go, see, I've got all my links set up here so as I can just read them, you know. We're going to talk about the Lion, lost in February 1835, ladies and gentlemen. But first, I think we should talk about Dunsky Castle. But we'll let the chat fill up for a minute or two. So I hope everybody's well tonight. How is everybody in the chat? We've got Stephanie. We've got Mystical Love and Light. There you go. So Drew, how are you in this fantastic wintry cold day?
I'm doing okay, just patiently waiting on the weather getting better, Christopher. That's that. We're patiently waiting. I did see that you were in my home.
Yes.
Down.
Oh, bit of lag there. I think it's lagging there, Drew, for you. Can you hear me okay? I think your phone started lagging.
Okay. Yeah, there I'm back again. Hopefully
you're
I'll stay
back
that
again.
way. Yeah, I've just been trying to patiently waiting the weather getting better and just plodding on really. That's it.
Aye. I was down at the mill. The mill at Lismahago today, which was interesting place, may I say. And there's an interesting guy in the chat there. Look at this guy. He, ladies and gentlemen, was my co-host, Dakota, was on Elena Denen's show on Tuesday, but we don't know when it's getting aired, but as soon as we do, we'll tell you, everybody. So, is this, see that, Drew, it's lighting up the people that's coming for your channel. It's coming up with a wee link, because they're clicking on it.
Oh, well, come in, everybody, from my channel. Thank you. This is a test time we've done this.
Sheer 39, I hope I'm... Hello from America. Nice to meet you. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to the subject, right? Let's start talking about this amazing location, right? I've downloaded some nice pictures for you all tonight, you know. Now, this is Dunsky Castle. Look at that. Now,
the town.
Is anybody else, is Drew breaking up for anybody else, guys? You're breaking up off it, Drew.
I'm not breaking up, guys. Am I lagging? Do you want to know what I'll do? I'll take off my... Anybody that's on my... Come over.
I think Drew's having internet issues, guys. She's got to disconnect her phone. I think she's got to plug her phone in. Your internet must be getting drained because of the link. That's what it is. But anyway, guys, we're going to be talking about...
I'll come back and I'll go out and come back.
Yeah. That'll probably work better if you come out and come back in again.
Yeah, right, I'll come back in.
So,
That
guys,
I've
that's a lot better.
disconnected it from my channel to see if it helps it.
You've cleared up a lot of
I've disconnected it from my channel just in case.
See, that's what it is. I'll give you a copy of this tonight anyway. I'll download it tonight or tomorrow and give you a copy anyway. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we have Dunsky Castle. Do you know it's one of the most haunted castles in Scotland? And it's actually got quite a sad story, which we'll come to shortly. I've been looking forward to this. I've been looking forward to doing this for all week, guys. Because
it's a beautiful place. It really is. It's a beautiful location. It's much like Oban, though. It's really, really quite like with the bay, beautiful buildings, different colours.
Do you know where Port Patrick is? Port Patrick's near Stranraer. You know where Stranraer is, Drew?
Yeah,
it's near the Mulley Galloway.
I haven't been to Port Patrick, but it does look beautiful.
I would just like to say to Grandmaster UV, thank you for joining us. Could you give us a wee subscribe if you're new? Thank you very much. So, right, let me get the history here and let me show you these pictures of the castle first. Where's the most iconic picture? Look at that. Now there's a...
It looks like it's...
Well...
It looks like it's going to just roll off the hill.
Well, I'll give you a brief history. Dunsky Castle is in ruin. It's an old castle perched in the cliffs above the sea near Port Patrick in Galloway, far southwest Scotland, right? Now, I'm going to tell you the story. First of all, there's a story goes of a ghost that haunts the location, Drew. And everybody in the chat, I think it was in the 1600s, so told, there was a woman giving birth to their child. And the nurse giving birth, the nurse looking after the woman, picked the child up and flung the child out of the top floor window into the cliffs below. Wow. And obviously she was hung for what she did and stuff like that. And she's meant to be the ghost that wanders there at night. Now, there's what it looked like. You've got the tower, you've got the courtyard, you've got the moat, the sea surrounding it, but I'll put it to a better picture because this one makes, I think there's one that my friend gave me. Let me have a look. Here it's here. This is from a friend, sent me this one. This is a much better picture, as you can see here. Right. The gardens and grounds of Dunsky Estate are open. Yeah, it's open all the time. You can go there if you go to Port Patrick, guys. It's open 24/7. You don't need to pay to get in. It's one of these free locations. Now, I've got it all written down here, guys, to make life a lot easier. Now, it's protected by a ditch on the lowland side of Dunsky Castle, consisting of a large ruined 16th century L-plan castle. The lower tower of 4 stories. To this has been added in the courtyard entrance. Now, they added a wee bit onto it, maybe in the 1600s, which is actually quite interesting. I was actually reading this all before I come on. Now, here we go.
Stuff?
It's actually got a basement. Would you like to get in there, Drew? The basement of the tower is vented and contains 3 cellars. 1 wine cellar with a small stair up, 2 halls above, which it's absolutely stunning. This photo here makes it, look at this. This is creepy as anything, this photo. Look at that.
That's a cracker of a photo.
Yeah. It has upper fireplaces and lower fireplaces, so it's got multiple fireplaces throughout the entire building. Dunsky Castle is portrayed with a small drawing, right, which I've actually put the drawing up here for you. Here's the drawing here, guys. This is the book I'm reading out of, by the way. Put it back to that one so as you can see it. The Adaires of Kilhill in 1489, an older castle was burnt by the MacCulloch of Marthun. This is the Scottish for me there. In retaliation, a murder of this lord. There was a lord there, and he was murdered off Hamilton by William Adair of Dunsky. Now, it was burnt down because of that. The castle was burnt down. It was raided. It was burnt down. They forced him to sign away the lands. That's what they did to him. They burnt his castle down, and then they forced the Lord to sign over his lands. The castle was altered and remodelled in the 16th century, but was sold in 1620 to these bloody Gaelic names, by the way, Montgomery. Port Patrick. The castle tower and front line of the Dunsky is a reflection of 1672. The castle was apparently ruined in 1684. So 1684 is actually not that long away, because you're entering kind of 1700s and stuff like that. I know it's
good for what it's been. It's right at the edge of that cliff. The weather in Scotland would normally go right through that and just crumble it.
See, this is the interesting bit, and here we go to the kind of ghost sightings and stuff. The castle was said to have had a brownie or hairy man. We could probably say that about Alan, couldn't we? He's a kind of brownie.
Yeah. I think we would see it more.
And is reported to have haunted by the ghost of a nursemaid who dropped a baby from one of the windows onto the beach far below, as well by a spiritual piper, jester, who was imprisoned but found a way into the caves below the old stronghold. He was never seen again. See, there's caves below it. And somebody went in there and he was never found again.
Right. I was reading that. Well, I didn't read that. I was watching a documentary about it. And they were saying about the cave. But
yeah.
We'll get to that.
So let me get to this is actually interesting, this one. I need to bring up my wee thing here. So what do you all think about this, guys, in the chat? What do you think about this very interesting?
You think the walls in that one? You think the walls in that castle are as thick as the ones up at we did just by Douglas? The boat round.
Crawford Castle.
I always forget the name.
Crawford.
Do you think it's as thick as that?
Aye, it's the same. It's the same type of castle.
Right.
It's the same type of castle.
It looks much.
Stockport, what a great castle. The public allowed to go there? Yes, you're allowed to go there anytime you want. It's actually quite popular with ghost hunters because it's open 24/7 a day. And the Scottish, what do you call it, look after it. The Scottish history thing looks after it. Heritage looks after it. Let me get back to some more pictures here somewhere. There's actually a picture of there. See, it's always really been in ruin because it was burnt down. I mean, look at that.
I know, it's crazy to think that it's been burnt down, rebuilt, and it's still standing the way it is right now.
Yeah. There's a picture.
Was the castle ever attacked? Was it ever attacked?
Aye, it was. That's what I just read. It was attacked by a family in the 1500s because.
What do you call it? Like I mean, like attack back from the sea. Because if you look at one of the windows, it looks as if maybe one of the balls, which you call them,
cannonballs.
Cannonballs is maybe
what? For the new people coming into the chat, basically what happened was it was under siege, right? And they would come out. Eventually, they set fire to it. Everybody had to flee. And the Lord in charge was basically told, you can either face death or you can sign all your lands to me. So he signed all the land to him, to the other lord, and let him go in his merry way. It's an amazing building.
The thing is, the walk up to that castle, if you look at it, is really, really hard. So for the people to attack the place, it must have been. I mean, you've walked it, Christopher. How long does it take to walk up to it?
No far. It's no far. It's maybe like 25 minutes. But you've got to remember in the 1600s, right? You've got to remember that there was no modern transport in the days. They had horses with armour. So they had to walk up for Port Patrick itself to get to the castle, right? And at that time, in the 1600s, Port Patrick in the days was just like a little village. There was maybe like an inn and a couple of houses or something like that. Here's a floor plan here. You can actually see what it looks like inside. That's what's left it today.
Quite big though. It is a big castle. Aye. It's one of the big, I would say, to be honest.
So what do you think in the chat, guys? Would you want to go there and have an investigation at night? Can you imagine being in there at night, Drew? You need to watch you didn't walk out the door and fall off the cliff.
I know.
That's the only problem. That's what I've
think about.
That's what I've been told, right? I've been told that there's a door at the side, and if you walk out it, it's a sheer drop. Because the cliffs have fell away over the years. I mean, there's actually been things filmed there. There's been, I think there was a couple of films filmed there at the castle. I'm amazed nobody.
Is that the actual town? Is that where that program Ballamore was filmed?
No, no, Ballamore wasn't. Ballamore was filmed up. Ballamore was filmed up near Oban. This is going down towards Stranraer, the Mulligalloway and stuff. There was a background. There's the town itself, Port Patrick, is famous for the big hotel, but it's also famous for the lighthouse. It's a beautiful harbour, absolutely stunning harbour.
It really is.
Aye.
It really
the
is.
Castle.
Welcome, Christine.
Hey, welcome, Christine. The castle is amazing. What I've been told now, I've got friends that have been there and they've done a ghost investigation. If Brian's listening, he doesn't like it when I talk about castles because I've got that many of them. That's Brian G. Laverty, everybody. The castle is very eerie at night. It changes. And there's been orb sightings, there's been glowing balls, there's been dark shadows. It's one of the most haunted castles in the Mulligalloway. And believe me, the Mulligalloway's got quite a few castles and lighthouses and shipwrecks. So what do you think, guys, in the chat? Would you like to see me, Drew, and Alan go to Dunsky Castle to investigate, to see if we can find or hear the cries of the crying baby? Because that's what they say they hear. When they're standing at the rocks, they can hear the cries of the baby. Just going out there. I know.
I mean, why did she do that? Did she have a mental breakdown, or was she secretly jealous that you had a baby? I don't know. Why was there any reason that she did?
See, this is the thing. There's no real stuff about it. What I've managed to find, it's like maybe something like that did happen, but it's like hearsay kind of thing. It's something that's lasted over the generations. Maybe she didn't throw the baby down. Maybe she fell out the window. I don't know. You know how it's like the game of telephone. It's like these things. It's like legend. You know.
I remember the whole files. In the whole files, Dave Schrader managed to debunk a couple of the shipwreck things in America. Yeah. Well, who knows? We can put stop to some of the myths and our shipwrecks and things and castles and things. So we'll ask the spirits what happened.
We have 2 shipwrecks to talk about tonight, guys. Now, we'll go back to Dunsky Castle in a wee while because, in fact, I'll go to the page. I'll leave the Princess the New, and I'll go back to the shipwreck. Let me see. I need to accept all these things. Now, we're going to talk about the Lion. This ship, the Lion, sunk in February 1835. Now, obviously, the cameras in the days were not the best, so it's like an artist's drawing. Okay, so this is the ship. Now, you know where this ship sunk? It sunk 500 yards for the castle.
All right.
It hit the rocks. Now, the Lion, an American ship of 377 tons, registered in Boston, Massachusetts, was sailing from Liverpool to New Orleans with a mixed cargo of cotton, right? Which is quite interesting. It must have been, maybe that was going to the woolen mills. You should probably know, okay, what I mean? Harbour, the light at the entrance of Belfast. The ship struck the rocks off Hounds Loop, about 1 mile south of Portpatrick. 4 of the crew were rescued, but the captain and 10 other sailors were drowned. The memorial marks the captain, Alan Burley, and 7 of his ship's company. Presumed the bodies of the other 3 crewmen were never recovered. So there was some of them were recovered and some of them weren't recovered. Now you can see it was a steamer.
There though, isn't it? I mean, in those days they didn't have the rescue boats and things like nowadays. So
they had like rescue boats, but they were like kind of rowing boat kind of things. They weren't very good. The New York Spectre carried out a full account of the tragedy. This is the people that Ken looked into the things at the time. The loss of the ship Lion, we noticed a few days since the loss of the ship the Lion and the fate of the captain, Alan, and his crew. Captain B was a native of Brandsville, where he was wife and one child, and a large circle of friends. Let's see. The shipwreck, the loss of the life, it was grief. We record the following particular obtained verbally from the guard and driver of the Portpatrick, the Lion of Boston. Actually, I went digging about, ladies and gentlemen. I went digging about and I found where they're buried. Now, some of them are buried in Portpatrick Cemetery. The captain, what I heard was the captain's buried here and some of his crewmates are buried here. But some of the other crew were never found. They went down with the ship. Or they just fell into the murky depths below. It says here, the shore was good below the Dunsky Castle. It was just up for the Dunsky Castle. The high and jagged rocks that line the whole coast. The point mentioned the Mull of Galloway. The course of 3 hours, the vessel had become a total wreck. So you think about the storm, guys, right? This thing's crashed against the rocks. The thing actually tore in half. Split in half like the Titanic did, right, guys? This thing's split in half. See, to this day, there's people dive it. There's actually people that have dived. See, if you go online and look up this ship and type it into YouTube, you'll get people that dive this ship. And all that's left of it is the steam engine. That's all that's left because it was all wood.
Okay.
Suddenly it was painful to add the crew, including the captain, found a watery grave. And 4 saved. There was 4 saved. One whose mate, 3 are much injured. It was a bad sinking. You know, I mean, it's a sad thing, you know. But you think this one's sad? Wait till the what's that?
See, to go out there boat, even to go out there on a boat and try and do an investigation, it would be amazing to see if you could contact the spirits of the ship.
That's what I'm planning on doing. That's what we're planning on doing. So we could go to the castle and we could go out in a little boat. Because my dad actually fished right where that wreck is. I remember him, he used to go in his wee boat. And can you imagine? I don't think anybody's ever done that. Is go out in a boat and do an investigation over a wreck of a ship. Where, I mean, the water's maybe like 50, 60 feet down. But there's no much there left, but still the spirits could be lingering. Let's see what the chat's saying.
What do you think, guys? Do you think the spirits would talk above the water?
I think they would.
It could be a portal or something, you know. I think they would too. Even if they're not there lingering, they would come back to speak to us, to maybe tell us what happened.
I mean, it's interesting. I know people that have actually dived it. Right. And it's very eerie. Obviously, there's no much left of the hull. The hull itself's all broken up. The steam engine is there. You can see the coal. There's like coal lying underneath. I actually watched a video on YouTube, and the diver goes down. You can see the steam engine, what's left of it, and it was carrying cotton.
Nice.
Do you think you think of the ship that came all the way? That came all the way from Boston, Massachusetts. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's
probably
cargo.
in a circle. They've been coming from Boston, going to Liverpool, going back.
Aye, it was dropping off. It was dropping off cotton in Scotland. Now I bet you that cotton probably went to some of the woolen mills, where it was turned into like garments
Probably,
and stuff. Just think, out there somewhere there might be an old piece of clothing, right, made out of cotton, came for that ship when it dropped it off.
Wow,
It's
that's a thought, isn't it? When you think that could make.
I think going to the wreck itself would be interesting because it's sheer cliffs, right? You got to remember there wasn't really any cameras in these days, so they couldn't. Well, there was cameras, but they were bulky, would be the word. So this is an artist drawing.
They stand on the top of the cliff, and they used to put their hand, head over the camera. They would have put away in the hill with the old camera.
I mean, can you imagine if you had a team on land doing like an experiment at the same time as you had a team in a boat to see if there's any
method away out there?
Aye, yeah. So imagine you were out in a little boat, preferably one with an engine, and you were doing like a ghost box session or an investigation there over the wreck, but at the exact same time, say you had a other team at the graveyard where some of the crew are doing an investigation at the same time to see if anything would be picked up. I mean, look at the people hanging off of that. It was a total disaster.
It's not that. You could link the spirits back together. Think about it though. If that ship got wrecked, there could be a lot of roles. So us going live, doing an investigation on the sea, and then trying to connect people in the cemetery would maybe put a lot of spirits at rest because they maybe did wonder what happened. You know?
I know. Yeah, I think we need to go to Port Patrick in the summertime, guys, and I think that's what we'll do. We will go to Port Patrick in the summertime, and we'll have a game of crazy golf when we're there too. there's actually. See, this is the interest.
Well, though.
Aye, see, this is the thing, right? The thing about Port Patrick and where it is, that wasn't the only wreck ship. There's about 30, 40, all the way round about the Mully Galloway. They're everywhere. It's notorious for ships to be up on the rocks. Actually, my dad was telling me about a place just up for there, and there's like 3 ships sunk together, which is it's actually a really interesting place. Now, the next one we're going to talk about, guys, is actually quite a sad story. A really sad story, actually. You think that one's sad? What's that, Dobby Sock? I like crazy golf. A quick advert, guys. If you're interested, could you check out the links below for our merchandise store and for our sponsors of the show too. So I'd really appreciate that, guys. But that was just a really quick, That was Ghost Shack. They sell apps, Drew. Have you bought any of their app shop?
Yeah.
They sell
Not yet,
apps,
but
right?
I'm going to get my REM pod in the next couple of weeks. Yep.
Now,
hopefully.
We'll come back to the castle again. We'll talk more about the castle in a little while, but this ship, Port Patrick, because there's a monument to this ship. See, just down for I've just realised something. See, down for this castle, there's been a lot of odd things happening. Ships sinking. It makes you wonder if the place is cursed. There's this monument.
Could be.
There's this monument, and it's to this ship. Now, let me tell you about this ship. The loss of the Princess Victoria. In March 1987, the ferry Herald of Free Enterprises sank off the... I'm reading the right line. Sorry about that, guys. There we go. Great start of January 1953 on the 133 people died. Now let me sink that in. 133 people died. It was, let me see, the Princess Victoria Ferry 34. It bloody pop-ups on my phone. It changed the page. I was reading something else. The ferry 34 years earlier, the Great Storm of January 1953. On that occasion, 133 people died, making it the UK's greatest post-war maritime disaster. At the time, the Princess Victoria, built in 1947 by the shipbuilders William Denny and Brothers of Dumbarton, was the fourth ship of the name to provide ferry service around the UK. Earlier, Princess Victoria had been sunk in the Humber during the World War II.
Right.
The latest Princess Victoria was one of the first new type of ferries to be used in the UK and European waters, weighing, wait for this, and at 2,694 tonnes. The ferry could carry up to 1,500 passengers as well as cars, lorries. The ferry was designed to serve between Stranraer in Scotland and Larne in Northern Ireland and was equipped with the most up-to-date navigation equipment. Most importantly, the perspective of the passengers and freight carriers, the Princess Victoria was one of the most of the latest driven on drive off vessels. So that was the ones that the ship could go up to the harbour, open its door, and the vehicles can drive up. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Drove onto the cargo deck. Yeah, ship via a ramp, a stern. It's different now. It's a lot more complicated now. Is it roll on, roll off ferries? Drove onto the cargo deck of the ship via a ramp, the stern deck, then being closed off by two doors about 5 to 7, 1.7 metres in height. Right? Now, this is interesting. Attacked by the bulwark, but not seal against the sea. Now, I think this has got something to do with the sinking of this. Anyone who has made a ferry trip across the North Channel between Stranraer and Crane-Ryan, has any of you ever been to Ireland? For Stranraer, have you been, Drew? Have you been?
No, I haven't. No, but I heard it. I think that it's still something because those doors at the back.
There's a wee drink of water there. I've been across once to Ireland. I'm just going to read the chat for a minute, guys. I've been across once. Oh my god, it was in the Sea Cat, you know, the catamaran type. Oh my god, stories I can tell you about that. That was terrible. It was rough as it.
Rough sea?
It was a really it was a rough sea. It was a very, very rough sea. I'm just going to read some chat here. Let's see, I'm just reading Grandmaster UV. I was born in Swindon, England. Christine, Drew and Chris are Scotland. I'm from Australia. You guys had I'm just reading some of the chat, guys, because I like to read them. Right. As I say about this ship, anyone who made the ferry trip across the North Channel between Stranraer and Crane-Ryan in Northern Ireland, we all know what pleasant experience. It's no pleasant experience, I can guarantee you that. This is a good weather conditions. It's different. It's different if it's nice. At sea can change dramatically, sudden, in the part of the world where the ferry companies and their passengers benefit from the largest technology provides. See, it's all satellite technology now, right? So it's all, I mean, it's very difficult to have problems now, right? On the 31st of January, 1953.
Was it not quite common for those type of ferries to sink?
No, really. No, really. They were quite safe. On 31st of January 1953, long before the satellites, the Met Office and the BBC shipping forecast provided the best information for the vessels at sea. The forecast that day reported a deep depression in the northwest of Scotland would bring gale force northwesterly winds right across the path of the Princess Victoria. Due to begin her regular crossing from Stranraer to Larne at 7:45 in the morning. Now I'm trying to kind of jump. Right. I'm trying to tell you the full story here. So, her captain was James Ferguson, who had worked on the crossing for 17 years. The Princess Victoria also carried a crew of 49 to 51 crew. Sources were and 128 passengers. Let's see. The entire surprising since the rotation, a full manifest of passengers and ferries have only become mandatory fairly recently. So see now, there's got to be so many life jackets. They've got to know exactly who's on that ship, because see if it sinks and there's people on there that you don't know who, but they would wonder where they've went. Now, the ferries have only become mandatory. The weather conditions that some passengers booked onto the ferry simply didn't turn up. So there was people that didn't turn up, but they were still presumed dead because they thought they were on the ship. But obviously that doesn't happen now because of computers and stuff. Mm-hmm. The Princess Victoria set off on a regular route along Loch Ryan. That's the Loch Ryan that comes out of Stranraer, with her passengers, a few vehicles and 44 tons of cargo on board. Even in the best weather, progress from the relative shelter of Loch Ryan to the open sea can be felt by passengers. I've been in Loch Ryan, right, in a boat, in the most beautifulest day, Drew, right? But see when you go out into the main North Sea itself, oh my God, it just changes. It just totally changes. The open sea can be felt by passengers on board. A very fateful morning, the Princess Victoria left Loch to be met with a full gale force storm that was alleged lashing the sea into 30-foot, 9-metre waves. Oh my God. The original depression forecast by the weather people, depression on the leading southeast edge. And I don't want to read all of this, guys, because it's quite a lot. Let's see the tension. Right, as the bow of the vessel nosedived through one of the intense waves, throwing passengers and crew about, Captain Ferguson realised that he attempted to follow the southwesterly heading, Larne. The ship would be on the massive waves with potential catastrophic consequences. See, this is where it started to sink, guys. The attempt to return to Loch Ryan. This was itself a dangerous manoeuvre because he's going to have to turn this into the ongoing waves. It would put the ship first broadside and then stern. Terrifying waves to the engines were slowed. The vessel prepared to turn. Starboard return of I think it's called corkscrewing the ship. If there's any sailors in the chat know what that means. The vessel managed to complete turn but was smashed on the stern by a power of waves so that the car deck doors were damaged beyond repair and water flooded the deck. See, this is where it started to go totally terribly and absolutely diabolically wrong, right? Yeah. The immediate issue was to prevent any more water entering the stern. Beginning his ferry back to head into the storm, Ferguson then attempted to go to the stern into Loch Ryan using the bow rudder. When the rudder couldn't be released, the vessel attempted to maintain a position off entrance of Loch Ryan. David Broadfoot, the ferry's radio operator, used the Morse code to call for a tug assistance, and life jackets were issued. By 10:32 a.m., with the ferry listing and drifting sternward down the North Channel, the Broadfoot sorry, I'm just trying to read this. It keeps pop-ups on my phone. Set out general SOS warning weather conditions brought winds of 120 mile an hour winds. Can you imagine what that was like, guys? Can you imagine what that ship was like? At the time, the Captain Ferguson continued to calm the passengers despite a dreadful circumstances. The RNLI, so that's the lifeboats for Port Patrick.
Is that people standing on that?
Aye, there's people, loads of them. Aye, there's loads of them there. Let's see. What's that? I wouldn't know. Aye, it would be allowed now, but there's a lot of safety things now. Aye, you're meant to. You're not meant to go outside when it's especially. Let's see. The lifeboats were launched from Port Patrick. The destroyer HMS Constant set off from the Clyde to assist shortly after 11 a.m. At 2 minutes to 2, the Princess Victoria rolled onto her beam ends. That means she was just about to capsize. An abandoned ship was given. Her last reported position was 5 miles east of the island, Scotland Island, just south of the entrance of Belfast. Now, let's see. In fact, the location of the ferry was 5 miles to the north, reported position, along with... It must have been absolutely terrible. The guy basically kept SOS, 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 and until the very last minute.
He tried to turn around, didn't he?
Aye. He shouldn't have maybe turned it round, and maybe that was maybe why it sunk. When it was clear the ferry was about to go down, an attempt was made to get passengers into safety of the ferry's lifeboats. However, the vessel was listing so badly, the starboard boats were in the sea, but folk couldn't get into them. That's how bad. Cause you imagine a ship on its side, right? And the boats at the other side, you couldn't get into them. Due to intensity of the storms, the lifeboats on the port side could only be lowered into the water as the ship going down started to sink. It was at this moment just passengers were entered the lifeboats that the Princess Victoria capsized, so it rolled upside down. So imagine that, upside down. Capsized several commercial vessels for Belfast, Port Patrick, Lowndes, Orkney, and Lairdmoor. Is passed off. So a lot of ships basically came to help, right? The salvage vessel were internally handling the last location provided by the ferry was only when the wreckage, that's ferry true location, was discovered. It sunk pretty quick, guys, right? Just 44 people survived out of the 133. Only 44 people survived, guys. And they've actually put, let me see, where's the picture here? There is a memorial. There's a memorial to it. That's
the hanging, the gripping hands or something, doesn't it?
Aye.
Hands or something.
This is actually really interesting. Among the dead, there was a Deputy Prime Minister for Northern Ireland and the MP for North Down. The final, that's so I didn't realise that. The final death toll from the Great Storm in the Netherlands, Belgium, was over 500 people. The foundering of the Princess Victoria began a largest signal loss of life, while the news spreading of events in the North Channel. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen, that's the story of that vessel. I mean, that's 133 people in that, including the Deputy Prime Minister for Northern Ireland, and there was only 44 people survived. So there you go. I think Drew's keeps freezing, guys. I don't know what's wrong with our internet. You're breaking up off of there.
It's because it's stormy here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Is it stormy with you, Drew? Again, it's really, 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 really heavy rain. You know.
Yep. Well, if you've looked at this recently, look out, it's windy and wet and wild.
it's an interesting place. Yeah, I mean, there's so many wreck ships around Stranraer. See, Stranraer itself, we'll need to have a video on Stranraer because they've actually got a big castle. And it used to be, see, in World War II, they actually had slipways in Loch Ryan in World War II. And you ever heard of the flying boats? The planes that could land in water? And there's actually one of them crashed in Loch Ryan to this day. It's what there'll not be much left of it now, you know. So yeah, it's very interesting. Catalina, thank you very much, Facebook user. I think that's my brother. Could you remember who are you, Facebook user? Put in your name so as I know who you are. Drew's having a bit of technical problems, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Terrible.
So, yeah, it's an interesting place. Stranraer, Port Patrick, the Mully Galloway. There's actually a little chapel there that dates back to the 9th century that we'll need to talk about one day. And it's just an amazing place, but I think we need to go to like Port Patrick and experience it for ourselves. There's also stories about cannibals.
So many.
Yeah, there's stories about cannibals and stuff like that, guys.
It's just, you can just haunted.
Yeah. So, guys, if you want us to go to these interesting locations, remember and check out the merchandise store because that would help things. You know, don't worry, we'll send Alan out in a wee rowing boat into Loch Ryan. You know, he's probably watching this, the new guys. You know, but it's sad.
Alan, he's going out.
Aye, I'll go out with you, Alan. I'm awfully thirsty tonight. I don't know what's right, but it's sad that that capsized. It was basically turned upside down. It had 133 people on board. Some of them didn't turn up because they thought they were dead, but the one that just didn't turn up, and 44 people were left.
It's going to be a really hot town. But you think about all the shipwrecks throughout the ages, not just these ones, it's the ferries and things.
See,
all the ships that's round about and all the holes. And was there a pirate?
Well, it's weird you should say that. It's weird you should say that. There was Loose Bay near Stranraer, which is only a couple of miles. There was a massive storm, I think, and it was the Spanish galleons, and I think a few of them sunk. And do you know, to this day, these ships have never been found, and there was an estimated £500 million worth of gold in them.
We're going to talk to the spirits here.
See, to this day, they reckon it's worth over £1 billion UK. The gold that could be lying. They don't know where it is. You've got to remember these ships were made of wood. They maybe have a metal cannonballs and stuff like that, right? And cannons. These things, there was Spanish galleons sunk carrying all this gold. Can you imagine somewhere out there in Loose Bay? What about Stranraer? Aye. There's all that gold. And if you think about it, this is going back to the Spanish galleon days. If that was carrying 500 million in their days, what was it? What's it worth now? What's it worth now?
Wow.
Well, we could get one of the old diving. What do you think, guys, in the chat? Do you think we should get Drew into one of the old diving? What do you call the old diving helmets? The old ones where somebody's got to work a pump. We'll lower you down.
That's a job for you. I'll stand on the show of the spirit box.
Ken, and it's strange that you say, Drew, nobody's ever went ghost hunting now or a wreck ship. I know you obviously you can't go to the water unless you're a diver. But can you imagine sitting on top of the surface in a boat doing like a wee investigation? I think we should do something like that, you know. What's that, Christine? Yeah. I think it would be terrifying to be in a ship. Oh, God. it would. Can you imagine what it's like? Can you imagine what it's like inside? Right, imagine you fall asleep in your cabin in the ship, right? That ship rolls upside down, and it's half sunk, and you're trapped.
To be in a shipwreck,
Can you imagine being trapped in an air pocket in a ship sinking? Would you want to be able to go anywhere?
Wow.
Can that actually happen to a guy? And
I would just dive down and just say bye. Basically.
I mean,
I would have put myself through that.
It's happened. I mean, there's people been trapped in engine rooms of ships when they've sunk, and eventually they run out of air. Eventually, because you think about it, it'd be pitch black, right? The water would be slowly rising, and there'd be nowhere to go.
Honestly, that would be total nightmare. Honestly, can't swim, nightmare.
Again, that's actually a really good point, and it's something that I've never. Nicole727, did Scotland ever have wrecks that used lights to lure ships to the shore in order to plunder their goods? Ken, something I do not know, and I'll need to actually look into that. MD in the chat that knows about these kind of things, could you put in the chat if you know that? I know that sometimes they deliberately tried to take out the lighthouses to do that kind of thing. Facebook user, no. So right. I don't know. I think that's maybe like the African coast and stuff like that. They would do things like that, lure ships into the rocks so as they could rob them. But the shipwrecks, it's everywhere. I mean, there's shipwrecks in the Clyde. There's shipwrecks in the Clyde. There's shipwrecks absolutely everywhere. But ladies and gentlemen, we also want to tell you we have a very special. What's that? What's that, Drew? You're breaking up.
Because made out way back. I know I'm saying it's because made out they weren't very sturdy. If things broke.
I'm going to post a link, guys, in the chat, because we have a very special guest coming on next week. Now, he has been on Living History's Mysteries, and I thought I have to get this guy for you guys. Just let me post this link in the chat for you guys. Paste that. We are getting the life of Hobblescotch, right? He dresses up next week. You know the guy I'm talking about? He dresses up as a green goblin. That's his link in the chat there, guys. I think I've posted it. I didn't have time to download the photo tonight, but this is the guest for next week, everybody. What do you think of that? Check his channel out, guys.
He's got to terrify me.
I think he'll be... honestly, I think he's amazing. Somebody that can put that makeup on.
Jeepers Creepers.
He does, doesn't he?
Brown, very green, Jeepers Creepers.
Okay, that's something you've just said
he
there.
Doesn't scare people.
He's in America. He can go after the Americans, you know. But that link that I stuck in the chat there, that link should have come up. Did that link not come up? That link didn't come up.
I don't see it.
There it's there. It's in there now. Check his channel out, guys. Go and watch some of his stuff, because I think that's going to be an absolute amazing show next week. And there's My Mystical Love and Light. Yes, I did. There you go.
Yep.
So you check out that in the link, guys. So next week we have Mr. Hobblescotch next week. Where would you like to talk about, Drew? Not next week, but the week after. What location in Scotland? What Scottish?
Where can we talk about?
Scottish island or ruin?
I think we should do Oban or somewhere.
Oban
or something.
We can do Oban.
Somewhere. We'll stick to the kind of boat things. We'll stick to that just now. We'll try and find castles and things up rurally.
Yeah.
We'll
Oban's an interesting place.
But we're trying to find places and things that nobody really covers because your Greyfriars and everything gets covered all the time. So
Okay.
we're trying to find places not just known as well. You know?
Yeah. I actually watched I watched a thing about Greyfriars the other night there, and it was a YouTuber, and he was at the tomb, because I hear they're got to be doing it up, but I've been told, but I've seen. So I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know what they're going to be doing, but they're going to be doing something to that Mr. Mackenzie's tomb. So that'll be interesting, you know. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen,
is that because I wanted to paint his doors?
I don't know.
I was complaining because of the state of his tomb.
I mean, I can see the point of going to Greyfriars, but the thing about Greyfriars is this, and I don't know if people in the chat will agree, it's everybody's done it. Everybody's done it, right? It's the most popular bit in bloody the world, right? I want to go to the islands and the shipwrecks and stuff like that, where people haven't done that kind of stuff, and I think it'll be absolutely amazing to do that kind of thing. Portal to the Paranormal PTTP. Hey, Chris and Drew, welcome. You've missed it. You've missed the show, Portal.
Yeah, we'll definitely try to use this.
Yeah. So, guys, next week will be very interesting. I would like to say thanks to Dakota for making trailers and stuff like that. If you want the trailers made, please visit Bald Bonkers website. Please visit Drew's Paranormal Vlog. Also subscribe to the channel. I might have a new video coming out tomorrow about an ice house. I might be going into an ice house tomorrow doing a video. And next week we have the Hobble Squatch himself coming on. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all have a fantastic week, and we will all see you next week. Thank you very much. God bless you all, and catch you later, dudes.
Blessings, everybody.